computer. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sending Ravens. And I have a very special guest today, Brad Johnson. We've been trying to get together for quite a while to do something. I've been on Brad's channel, and it was a riveting experience. Say hello, Brad. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brad.
Hello, Janine, and hello, everybody. Thank you again for having me on today. Hello, everybody. My name is Brad Johnson. Like I said, Janine and I have done a past live stream together. So we're going through a lot of the stuff of the current events about what's happening in the world. Of course, there's a lot of shakeup, but that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. So to introduce myself, I've been doing this work now for over 13 years. I originally started just this entire journey because of a book I wanted to write. I just wanted to write a book about the real extraterrestrial presence, about what was really going on behind the scenes, what was really taking place. And I wanted to make this fictional book as close to nonfiction as possible. So I went on the internet and I just started researching a lot of different things. I started researching channeling, I started researching psychics, I started researching Black Ops community personnel and so forth, just getting an idea about what was really going on. And I was just becoming captivated by what I was able to research, that it was so much more interesting than what I was trying to create in this book. So I got so captivated by all this information and said, you know what, this is great. Like, I'm hearing about people channeling extraterrestrial beings and that you can actually talk to them. And like, this is like a dream come true to me because I was always into ETs as a little kid as well too. And they said that if you go into the channeling state, you go into a meditation state, you start talking to these beings and they're so divine and they're wonderful and they believe in a one infinite creator and they can teach you all these wonderful things about how you can go right to God. And like, wow, this is incredible. So I decided just to put the book aside and said, I want to get into this. I want to start doing this. And so I went to my local library and I took out a book called Learn How to Meditate. And I just grabbed that book. It was just a simple book. It wasn't anything spectacular. People are still asking, Brad, what's the name of that book? What's the name of that book? It must be a special book. No, not really. It was a beginner's guide to meditation, really. And so I just started reading the book from front cover to back cover. I got it finished in about 2 weeks. And I started doing a lot of the exercises that they mention in the book and just going deep, closing your eyes, following the breath, doing breathing techniques, doing visualization techniques. And as I was doing that, I was going very deeply into these astral realms. And I was kind of like going into these mazes. And I would see like these floating crystal balls very vividly in my mind. And I would start touching these crystal balls and I would actually feel surges of energy coming through my physical arms. And my whole body would feel like this surging energy of these crystal balls coming through. And so as I would go to sleep at night, I would be getting downloads. I would be like feeling like I was floating in these non-physical classrooms. It's kind of like just these strands of light. And it's kind of like these beings that look like giant chandeliers that were just teaching me these different concepts, but it was never through the vocal means. It was always just through telepathic communication or communication to the heart. And so I'd wake up in the morning just knowing things about universal consciousness, knowing about the nature of the universe, understanding our connection with oneness, kind of in the beginning level, but just being able to know these things as I woke up. Wow, this is great. And I was able to really absorb the download energy really, really well. And it conveyed me to look into other deep facets of metaphysics and spirituality, energy healing, channeling, and so forth. So I got into channeling and I started exploring that. I put together an online community. It was called Saviors of Earth at the time. And so I met up with other channelers and psychics and I started to pick their brain. I just found out, okay, well, there's people who are doing mediumship here. There's people who are doing channeling. And I would just take them aside and say, okay, what do you guys do? How do you do channeling? How is that done? Oh, Brad, it's really, really simple. I just do conscious channeling. So I basically just get myself nice and relaxed. I go into a meditation state. I follow the breath and I just call in my source. And as I just call in my source, the words start to come in. And so, wow, that's really fascinating. I was still very, very left-brained at the time. And so I just started doing channeled writing or automatic writing, as we call it. And I did that for a couple of months. And then it wasn't until December of 2008, where a friend of mine, who was also a channeler, said, well, you know what, Brad, I feel like when I'm tapping into your energies, you have very strong connections to the star of Sirius A. So, and I feel like there's a presence there that wants to connect with you. It feels like there's a contact that wants to connect with you. So just go into your usual channeled state and put your intentions towards Sirius A and see who comes through. So I went ahead and did that. And I went again through my automatic writing process, or channeled writing process. I tapped in and there was Adronis. And that was the being that I spent nearly 13 years of my life channeling. And so he basically came to me and said, hello, Brad, I'm a version of you 297 years in the future. I've come back at this time to assist you in your spiritual evolution. And through the nature of our arrangement, that as you spiritually evolve, you will work with others to help them spiritually evolve along with you. Is this a contract that you would still like to agree to? And of course, I said, yes, absolutely. So this is basically, we could refer to these quite commonly as pre-incarnational agreements. So I would just start channeling Adronis, and the information he would give me at the time was just so profound because I was still so new to this. And I was trying to tell my wife at the time about this, and she thought I was crazy. She thought I was insane. She was looking at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, you know what? Okay, to prove I'm not crazy, I need to just go out onto my balcony. I was in my house in Victoria at the time, and I just went outside. I stepped outside and I said, okay, if you guys are out there, just let me know that you're here. If there's any allied ships or anything in the vicinity, just to show that I'm not crazy, that this is very real, please just show yourselves to me. 5 seconds later, the star just wiggled right out of the sky and just shot right across the sky. Lasted about 30 seconds. My ex-wife actually stepped out there and she saw it too at the same time. And I'm like, I told you, I prayed for that. I told you I'm not crazy. And then she thought I was even more crazy. So he's looking at stars and these stars are moving around and he's going crazy and all that. So yeah, marriage was basically falling apart with all that. It was a very toxic marriage altogether. So I basically had to leave and went my own way. And then just started to get my own place and started to really look into this a lot more deeper. And that's what led to my channeling journey with Adronis for, again, since late 2008 up until last summer. So I basically ended the channeling last summer because basically I was just getting the guidance to do so. It was time for me to move on from channeling. I didn't really need to work with a net anymore. Adronis was my net for quite some time. And it says, you know, you're ready to go. You're ready to do this. You're ready to basically share what I've shared. And beyond that, you can now work directly with spirit. So now I've become a direct conduit for spirit, a direct vessel, and just working with spirit in that way and continuing to educate in that way. And what I was being told as well, too, as I start to do a lot more spirit communication, the channel I'm working with would get a lot more popular. It would get a lot more people, and there'd be a lot more profound information coming together. So far, that's all happened. So that's really just been my journey since that time. Of course, since I was channeling, I was looking into energy healing. I was looking into astrology. I was looking into magic. I was looking into all these different forms of facets as well, too. Remote viewing was another thing as well, too. So I looked into many of these different facets and studied them quite thoroughly. And now, like I said, I just basically let spirit come in and share whatever needs to be shared regarding whatever topic a person comes to me. Like I said, just been doing these sessions for 13 years, and people just have come to me from all walks of life, having all kinds of different questions, varieties of questions. And I just
So you
help
had a clientele? Was it like a?
Yeah. I basically have worked over, I'd say, with like 15,000, 20,000 clients over the span of 13 years, not including people who I've seen at events and so forth.
Right.
So I've worked with a lot of them, and a lot of it, like I said, was channeled sessions with Adronis. There were times too where I was just talking to people as well too, in a natural tuned state to spirit. So I was doing that even before I was leaving Adronis, but now it's just kind of a full capacity now, where it's no longer about channeling. It's just about being the vessel for spirit.
Yeah. Just letting it come through, because I've watched you and it really does really naturally just come through.
Very naturally. That's thanks to all the beginnings of the downloads and during those meditation works. I was basically activating channels within me. I was going through a lot of different activations. And so this is what was making it flow through so smoothly. So there's other people I've talked to as well too, who start off as channels, and they may have moved on from channeling as well too. And now they're just being natural vessels for spirit. And just like me, their energy can just flow through very smoothly. So you kind of want to open up your gateways. You want to open up your channels as you're first beginning this journey, so that you have to let the river flow, through the riverbed. You don't want it just turning into a tidal wave. You want it to be a nice flowing river.
That's true. And now the way you're talking about it, it's, I think right at the beginning when you first brought in this Adronis, is that how I say it?
Yep.
You were saying that he was an evolved version of yourself, or a future self.
Yeah. Okay, but the thing is, I've actually encountered many versions of him.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first earlier versions that I connected with him, was a 297-year-old, future aspect of me. But really, I would say that he is almost like an immortal being. He doesn't really die in that way. He's more light. than anything regarding the flesh. So he could basically live as long as he wanted, and you're looking at different versions of him
Yeah.
all the time. So I was looking at a version of him that was what we would call in the fifth density, 297 years in the future, just at that point of contact. But his time frame would shift through the fifth density as I would connect with him. And then as I moved into 2012, I shifted personally again, and then he shifted as well too, and we moved into sixth density consciousness. So it wasn't 2012, it was more like 2016 or so. He moved into like a sixth density consciousness. And then so I started to connect with him in all the streams representing that density. And then finally, the last couple of years, he was shifting into a seventh density consciousness. And so I would tune into that version. So he would basically adjust with me as I shifted. And so I would see more of these greater versions of him all the time. So every time I channeled him, he was of a different age, he was of a different time, he was of a different dimension in that way, so to speak, to corroborate his energy with the people that I was talking to.
I wonder if that's what I've been picking up when I get the Hermit card in the tarot readings. I keep getting these future versions, and I always feel like they're human essence, but they're like our future selves. That might be what I'm getting there.
Exactly. Yep. Absolutely. And they're just they're constant. It's kind of like a constant stream of intelligence that's working together with you. And some of them may actually be non-human, but they'll take human form. Some of them may be kind of angelic, but again, they'll take a human appearance as to basically be very, very comfortable and convenient for you.
Yeah, they do seem to like to make us comfortable, don't they?
Oh yes, very important. Otherwise, they won't be able to get their message across.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when you very first connected, was it a visual thing or audio, or how did it happen?
No, I didn't really hear a voice with Adronis. There was a couple of times where he projected himself into my mind, and I would see him, and he's kind of like a 7 foot tall Syrian blonde hair, blue eyed being, kind of like a Nordic in that way. But he was very, very tall. Some people actually, because some people could see him as well too, they mistook him for Ashtar. There was a being known as Ashtar, and they would confuse Adronis with him because he almost looks exactly like him. And I said, well, we even said in a transmission, he says, well, even though you say that we are Ashtar, we are not Ashtar, we are Adronis. So he would make that point across, but he looked very, very similar to him. But there are times, no, about 95% of the time of the channeling, I didn't hear anything, I didn't see anything. It was all just a direct, claircognizant transmission where we would receive simultaneous thoughts and feelings at the same time. And so I would just learn to train myself to put myself back here. So Adronis would be here, and then he would come into the transmission. And as I spoke, I would speak his thoughts. I would speak his words. And so that's how it was. But it was never anything clairaudient. It was never really anything clairvoyant, very rare. It was always just direct download transmission in that way.
Now, when you were working with your clients, so that sort of got the muscle going. Is that, would you say that was true?
Oh yeah, that flexes your muscle a bit for sure.
Yeah, that's what I found too. And it just now, I just don't have the inclination to work with clients anymore. Are you still working one-on-one with people? Or are you just doing your big?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much booked up for the next 3 months with private sessions. So I'm going to be ending my private session journey on April 30th. Yeah. And then I'm putting up a Patreon group. And so the Patreon group is going to be group Q&A sessions. So people will come to me in groups. Yeah. And we'll do sessions that way. So it's just too many people. Individually, so I can see why you left it as well too. It's not a headache because of the people, it's a headache because of scheduling. It's a headache because I'm the secretary. I don't like doing the secretary like things. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to get people in a big group and we'll do Q&A that way, and it's so much easier for me.
Exactly. And also what you're bringing is really important for large amounts of people.
Large groups. Yeah. And that's another reason why I decided to end it too, as well, because a lot of this great information should be shared with a lot of people and not just one person. So that was another reason why I actually wanted to do this for a couple of years, but I never felt I was ready to do it. And so I knew that at a certain time it would come forward where I'd end the private sessions and then group sessions would take over. So now's the time. Right.
So you were like a young, 20s or something when this
I started in 2008, so that would be, I was 29 years old at the time. I'm 42 right now, so I was starting at 29 years old doing this, which is kind of a young age, which is nice, right? So people would say, I'm Brad, I'm just waking up right now and I'm 65. I'm like, well, that's great, right? So you're still a young pup in the eyes of spirit. So just continue to do your journey regardless of your age.
I got my first reading in my sort of mid-20s. But I didn't really start reading for others till I was about 29. Once I studied.
Same age. There you go.
Did you have a certain sort of mentor other than the off-world energy entity and or that wise ancient being? Did you have
Well,
a
I
human
had,
mentor?
I had some friends, again, who were channelers, but I didn't really consider them teachers. They were just
Yeah.
got people who I was kind of like interviewing. I was kind of like looking at myself like a journalist. And I
Yeah.
was interviewing these people about what they would do to channel. And I had a friend back in 2008 who was a good channel. He would give me some advice here and there, but we kind of
Yeah.
fell out shortly afterwards with that.
Yeah.
And then so basically, no, pretty much all of my knowledge has really come from spirit and has really come from Adronis in that sense. Adronis has been my teacher for the past 13 years. So he has come through and he shared a lot of stuff. And sometimes I would get information from him and it
Yeah.
would correlate with what other people were saying.
Right.
So sometimes I would bump into people and then
Right.
maybe I'd watch them on a video or maybe I'd talk to them in that sense and then we would kind of exchange ideas back and forth. And then they would tell something to me and say, oh, okay, I didn't consider that. So I'll look into it. So I was kind of just peripherally going to other people. I just call them like my peers. And we would look into different things together. I'd also look at some people who aren't alive anymore and they'd have some videos as well too. And they'd talk about certain things that I talk about and then they'd go to a lot more greater detail. So, okay, great. This would be something for a good
Yeah.
session down the road. So basically, other than the peripherals with the peers, no, my teacher was Adronis. It was very non-physical. I had a non-physical teacher.
Right. I had a non-physical teacher too, but it was an invisible wolf. It was a very large, dark color. I could feel the color, but it was a
Yep.
feeling, not a visual.
Okay.
And when it came to teach me things, it sounded like it was coming down a hill. It was the weirdest sensation. And you could hear leaves under its feet. Like if you've ever been in, nature and a dog or an animal comes shuffling down a hill to you. That's how it felt and sounded. And then I'd know when I heard that sound, okay, I'm going to get a lesson. And it would sort of sit in front of me and project lessons, kind of like almost like you said, I'd go back here and it would come
Yes.
front.
Yeah,
It's
they would
very,
go forefront. Yeah.
wow. Maybe it was something like that coming in in the
Yeah,
guise of
that's
an
a very
animal.
common channeling experience like that. Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, not everybody has to leave the body. This is where people get very confused about channeling. Say, well, Brad, if you're channeling, does not mean you have to go out of your body. You have to basically leave your body and you have to let the consciousness. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
Very few people actually do that because
Yeah.
they have to be naturally very good with your trance. You have to work with trance for quite some time.
Yeah.
You don't just kind of open up your body and let some being walk in.
Yeah,
That's a big no-no. There has to be a very big establishment of trust. And the being that you're working with in that sense really has to establish a trust between yourself and them.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like Jay-Z Knight who's channeled Ramtha in the past, where she would leave her body and then Ramtha would come in and basically take over the body temporarily and then leave, and then she'd come back.
Yeah.
That is extremely rare. That's a very, very rare thing. So that's, again, like I said, it requires not only deep trust in this lifetime, but also deep trust on a soul level. And so that's commonly referred to as ensoulment. So we don't really use that. Many channelers in that sense are really just conscious. They're conscious channelers.
I think it takes really good boundaries to be good at channeling. Would you agree, Brad? Like you have to really have boundaries that things you're willing to do and not do, or energies you're willing to feel and not feel. Does that make any sense?
My personal experience with Adronis was saying, take your boundaries out of here. Actually, it was more so in the idea of saying the reason why we cannot connect so good is because you're putting conditions and boundaries on yourself. And that's what's preventing the transmission from being stronger. So what I actually teach people to do is that as we clear out traumas within ourselves, we take down those boundaries. Now, there's no such thing as a healthy boundary. That's a delusion. We want to make sure that we are boundaryless. So if we are basically going through conflicts, we're working within our body to clear out the emotional hardships and traumas that are there so that we can be a pure conduit. So basically, you want to be as clear as a crystal. And that's how spirit can communicate with you fully, because now you're not putting boundaries and, oh, no, I can't talk about that. I can't share that because that reminds me of this heartache that I had one time. I said, well, that's what you have to clear. You have to heal that. And now you'll be as clear as a crystal. And now this transmission will broaden. It'll expand itself a lot more. So we want to try and be as boundaryless as possible.
Okay, so I think I might be talking about some other kind of boundary, and I'll just let me explain here, see if I can. Okay, so the thing with when I was channeling people, especially personal humans, right, would come to me.
Yeah.
I felt like, first of all, I couldn't touch them, like hugs. Everybody always wanted a hug. I couldn't really hug them. And to this day, I'm a little funny about hugs. So I wonder what your guide would say
Okay, I see what
about
you mean,
it,
yeah. So basically
right?
you're having kind of a post channeling.
Because I would feel everything. I would feel there, I would become them. And I felt like part of my journey was creating better boundaries because I would melt into everybody. And it's like, okay.
Right. No, I see what you mean. I would call that more discernment than a boundary.
Okay.
So you're being very discerning about that. It's kind of like when I was doing channelings as well. So I didn't really want anybody to approach me either at the same time. So I basically just said after I'm done, just kind of give me a few minutes so I can kind of come back and ground myself, and then I'll be happy to talk to you. I've had people in that sense who kind of like run up on stage like, that was awesome. Okay, hang on. Let me ground myself back into earth here a little bit more. So yeah, what you're doing is you're being discerning. So it's just a discernment factor in that way. So that's what I know what you mean. It's kind of like a post channeling. You have to kind of reground yourself. So you kind of have to let people know and discern and say, hey, you know what, just give me a few minutes so I can come back to earth. And then when I'm good, we can talk. For sure.
Yeah, because it can feel just overwhelming, I think.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, not for me though, but for certain channels that I've talked to, because they go very, very deep. They go beyond the conscious. They'll go like close to a deep trance channeling, and they'll need a few minutes. They'll probably need like a half hour, an hour. They'll just basically say before they channel, please just don't talk to me for a little bit. I have to really kind of ground myself and come back. Because it's kind of like what you're saying, you'll absorb their energy as well too. And you're very delicate, you're very sensitive in the post-channeling state. And you're still, kind of just the synapses are firing to try and bring yourself back into a grounding state. So yeah, it's kind of like a post-channeling consideration, I would say, and discernment factor for that. But yeah, in regards to like the channeling itself, the more that you are boundaryless, the more that you have greater communication coming through you with many different topics and discussions.
You know what I've noticed when I'm watching your work, I was really drawn to it was the way you're teaching humans sort of how to be the best humans we can be. Like, it's like you're bringing spiritual lessons and not just information. So it's not just like they're getting tidbits of information, but they're actually getting like lessons on how to be here in this world.
Yes.
And a bigger vision of what's really going on, because so many people have no clue really.
Yes, Adronis really drilled that into my head. He's saying people are not coming to you because they want a psychic reading. Okay? Yeah. You're not a psychic, right? And so basically it's looking at the idea is that you're a teacher. I'm training you to be a teacher. And so being a teacher in that sense is helping a person to realize that they are God. Is to know that they are God, that they are the infinite. And that there's nothing they can't do, that they just have to clear out their traumas. They have to clear out the taintedness that they've put upon themselves in this life, and now they will see their greatness. So that's really my goal, is to help you see your greatness, because I see mine. So as you see yours, you're going to realize I'm not a victim consciousness anymore. I'm not an aggressor. I'm not a bully. I'm not feeling like the whole world is against me. I'm not an abused soul or anything like that. I'm clearing all of that out. And now I'm getting the tools and the techniques to clear that out. So like I said, I don't channel anymore, but now it's all just based upon spirit communication, and spirit still says the same thing with me, right? You're a teacher now. And so you're just continuing to do it. I've even like when I've been doing like the New Earth Insights, and I've been doing my current events and stuff as well too. Sometimes I use the tarot, and spirit's almost kind of like pointing my fingers. Okay, don't use it too much. Don't use it. Use it a little bit here and there, but you have the natural intuition, especially when you're working with people personally. Just make sure you keep working with your intuition, because you spent 13 years sharpening that. So the tarot is pretty good once in a while, but try not to be attached to it. So that's just a reminder for me. It's different with tarot readers, of course, but I don't consider myself a tarot reader. I just consider myself a vessel for spirit. So whatever spirit wants me to do, I take it.
For me, it feels like it was the icebreaker to get everybody in the door. I realized not too far into it that I wasn't a psychic either per se. I was actually just reflecting their beauty to them, reminding people that they were gods and goddesses themselves, and that nobody was above or below them. And like, that's why I really liked what you were saying when I would listen to yours, various different shows and whatever. I really resonated because you were saying exactly what I also would get, is like, I'm just here to remind people who they really are, and not to be victims. That part really is important.
Yes.
That's what's been holding us in this prison.
You got it. And that's the problem, is people will see themselves as victims. So, well, I'm better than an aggressor. No, you're not. The victim and the aggressor are on the same level, none is
Yeah.
higher than the other. So it's the same side, it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So that's a very important thing. I was actually just talking about that the other day when I was doing a new video on my New Earth practices, was talking about the idea of traumas, the mental traumas that we have, and helping to identify those traumas very simply. So I actually gave a worksheet for people to use. And
Yeah.
now I'm just starting to develop an even simpler healing technique that I have done with others, like the BCR technique was one of them. Cord removal healing is another one. You guys can find that on my YouTube channel on playlists. And the new one that I'm developing right now is so incredibly simple. You'll have your conflicts gone in seconds. So it's kind of like a miniature version of the BCR technique. I refer to it as the conflict elimination technique, and it's really, really quick.
Yeah.
It's a compact version of that. So,
wonderful.
that's very important. We get stuff like that, and I'm getting people now to start setting goals for themselves as well too, whether it's personal goals or professional goals. And the goals themselves are, again, just a stepping stone into helping yourself to move more into the non-dual. Because once you go into the non-dual, you're going to notice that when you think a thought, it's going to be here like that. You start bringing a manifestation like that, it's going to come very, very quickly, because you're not sabotaging yourself anymore. So I'm training people to get out of their sabotage.
Yeah. Because that's coming. You're right.
Yeah.
I've actually been noticing it. Just everything speeded up. It's incredible. We're living in incredible times. How do you feel about everything that's going on? Does it feel to you like humanity is in one big lesson together, or how would you describe just
there's lessons.
Couple of years?
There's lessons attached to it, of course. Yes, like like many of us have come here before. We've been here on Earth many, many times, and we're just attempting to snap to it and saying, why do I keep coming back? Why do I keep coming back? Because there's still something that draws me here. There's still something that I'm attached to here. And there are some people that will leave the Earth and never have to come back because they've done everything that they needed to do, and they'll take off and they'll go somewhere else, and they'll go to another dimension, they'll go to another planet. And I say, yeah, I just came here and did what I did, and I'm ready just to dust all this stuff off and leave, and I'm done. Great. That's actually the majority of people. That's the good news. But there's still some that are still anchored to the earth plane because they're addicted to sex, they're addicted to the food of the earth, they're addicted to families, they're addicted to travel, they want to make a lot of money, they want to have business. So they're kind of hanging around the lower astral plane. And so they get into these tendencies altogether. So really, in that sense, yeah, there's life lessons to learn, but we're basically just remembering why we're here, right? Earth is a very, very unique school, unlike anything else. It's a God school. It's a master university. You're here to learn how to be God. So as you learn how to be God, then you're, like I said, it's all these things that I'm teaching, is that you will be able to see your thoughts manifest very, very quickly. You will see yourself being able to perform instant healing upon yourself. It doesn't matter what you have. You have the ability to make your physical body live up to 200 years without any problems. If I wanted to, I could basically just put my body up into a 200-year live, because that's what I'm most committed to in that way. But fortunately, I'm not. I'm happy with living under a century. That's okay. But some people want to say, oh, Brad, I just want to keep looking young. Well, you can. If you commit yourself to that and you're putting that energy towards yourself, you can look as young as you want to. It's all just thought. So basically what I'm teaching people is thought concentration, is helping them to concentrate their thoughts and working together with one goal, and just being able to see, I can carry out that goal because that one thought is that one goal. And I'm just clearing away any obstructions in that way, so that I've now achieved that one goal. But we're all here just to basically clear away a lot of the conflict that we've been building up for a long time. We're going inside our mansion, we're clearing out the cobwebs.
What do you make of the whole idea that we're in a spiritual war, sort of good against evil, and the evil dark forces have been, and some of them are even, people are attributing it to off-world evil and or underground lizard evil, and do you know what I mean? There's all these forms of evil, and my feeling is always that we're working together to learn something from each other, and going to free ourselves because we're not victims, but yet at the same time, it appears that we've been victimized by this darkness. What do you make of all of that kind of stuff?
Well, if we see the world in that way, then of course that's true, right?
Right.
So, and people who are very much attached to the world will see it, because we'll look at this good and evil principle and say, well, there's good guys, there's the counter forces, there's the alliance, there's the human guardians, and then there's the lizards, and there's the Draco, and there's the reptilians, and there's the AI. and there's the soul rebels and so forth. And so they're running amok and they're wreaking havoc. If we're part of the dualistic world, we will absolutely see that 100%, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But you go into the non-dual world, you're not concerned about any of that whatsoever, because it can't touch you. So when you go into the non-dual, and like I said, you are being your own sovereign, you are living from the inside, you're not concerned about those things. You can basically clear those things away with a snap of a finger and a thought that just comes together and saying, I understand now. I'm able to see the road signs about what Earth is trying to tell us, about what Earth is going through. And these are all just cycles. These are all just signposts telling me, okay, yeah, there's going to be some trucker convoys in Canada. And now Canada is going to be leading the way. And now you're going to have other countries that are going to do trucker convoys. And now they're going to start leading the ways. Now you're going to have the farmers join the trucker convoys. And now you're going to have the people joining the convoys. You're going to have people shutting down businesses so they can go join the convoys. It's exactly what's going to happen. And now the whole government says they're overwhelmed. Oh my God, the people are awake. So all I'm doing is I'm just seeing the cycles. I'm just seeing all these things as they turn out. And I don't really need to get riveted by it and say, okay, that's neat. Like I see it as it is happening. Yeah, great. I can tell this is just all part of the cycles that are happening. My love is always with the people. My love is always with the idea of these cycles, because this is what the divine has chosen to have happen. So that's really how I see it, is I just see it from a non-dual perspective. I'm not concerned about reptilians. I'm not concerned about lizards. Right? They're just us. They're another version of us in another reality, and they've been bred to think this way. But deep down, they are spirit, just as we are. They're all part of God, even if they don't admit it, because they think they can create better than God. But really, the whole idea is that they're God as well too. So all you're doing is you're working a lot more on the non-dual, just to give compassion, compassion and give love. And you see the signs, you see the road signs, you see the cycles that are happening, and you're just blessing everyone and everything along the way. So I basically just do my reports because a lot of people ask me to do it, saying, Brad, can you do the reports on New Earth Insights? Because really, I don't care about it, but I do it because people want to hear about it. Or Brad, I want to hear about like how Canada is doing, how the US. Okay, sure, no problem. I have no problem doing it for you guys. But I couldn't care less about it, because I'm just in a place where I see the signs. I see, it's kind of like you're looking at behind the scenes. You're seeing yourself as the director. You're seeing the lighting crew over here. You're seeing the actors over here. You're seeing the stage hands over here. You're seeing the props guy over here. Yeah, and they're just doing all their roles. So I'm like the executive producer rather than the director of the entire movie. So I'm not too concerned. I'm not too concerned about what's happening on stage. It's the actors playing their part. And then there will eventually come a point where the drape will pull open. We'll see all these things. Now it's transforming, and the actors will look behind and say, oh my God, and then they start ditching, because they can no longer be part of the old narrative. So yeah, that's that happening too. Mainstream media is going to be taken over by the counter forces. It's all going to happen. Everything is going to change. Not a single stone is going to be left unturned. So it's a wonderful thing to see. But I'm just looking at it from the background and just giving love and compassion where I'm needed.
That's how I feel. I feel like I'm just sort of helping people through this stage. Exactly. And people do like the details. Okay. If you listen to my readings, even though they like the details, I'm pretty bad at giving the details. I'm talking about sweeping ideas.
You're quite good at it. I'm kind of really good details. Like there's times where you're reading the cards, like, how did she do that? Because like I read the cards at times, and it gives me like some basic information and stuff like that. But I'm seeing you going so deeply, and you see like the nuances of the cards. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's really good. That's where your experience is paying off, of course.
They kind of talk like almost like, they give me timelines as far as when to talk about something, and they put it in perspective for me, and the visual just helps flow what I'm getting, so then I can get it out my mouth. Right. So when I don't have them in front of me, I'm sure I could channel, but I just don't give myself permission to do that. Literally, like I've just gotten, it feels like I'm maybe addicted to always having them with me. It's like,
yes. Well, it's also good too, because you're showing practically of what people are saying. So, maybe Janine's putting all this up in her head. No, you can see it through the cards. And it's kind of like what I do as well too, because sometimes I'll pull the cards up and saying, guys, if you think I'm making this up, I'm getting this right to the cards at the same time.
I think the universe gave us the cards just to help us teachers to get the word across.
Exactly. And like I said, there's people that are just so good with the tarot. Like I said, I'm not anywhere near that level. Like I said, I'll see a basic reading. The basic reading I do is I created a custom spread, and I call it the pillar spread. So I basically put 2 cards at the top. I say, this is the subject, this is the past, And I put another card below it and I said, this is the present moment. I put a card to the left that represents the conscious thoughts. I put it to the right that represents the unconscious thoughts of the present. And I go down the near future and then I say, okay, here's the conscious thoughts of the near future. Here's the unconscious thoughts of the near future. Then I put the long-term future at the bottom. Then I put advice and then I put life lessons.
Wow.
And that becomes my entire report for that segment.
Wonderful. And which deck do you use? Do you have it with you?
Same thing, just as you.
Oh, awesome. Look at that. Hold yours
So
up.
I have two decks. This one's the Golden Rider. This one I have the Robin Wood deck as well.
Oh, I love that Robin Wood deck too.
And
Yeah.
I got this mini one, but this mini one is driving me absolutely crazy and I do not like it.
Oh,
it just comes out of my hands all the time. I was like, no, I don't like this thing.
I
thought I would
it
get one to
cafe
try it.
deck.
Yeah. I thought I would give it a try to see how it's like. No, it's not really. I like the big decks. I like the decks that I can hold in my hand and it's easy to shuffle and all that.
Yeah.
So those are the decks. I mainly use the Rider deck for everything.
Yeah, Rider is a real basic. It just gets the job done. And I find it very balanced.
Yes, exactly. Because I've always tried to figure out the spreads that you're using because you do like the 7 cards.
Yeah.
And then you'll put the 8th card, the 9th card. So what is she using? Is it the past? Is it the present? Is it the near future? I gotta always ask this question.
First one I always pull. So it's called the Kachina knife. So it's like the first card pull is you or the person asking the question, the querent. Or you could even say the question. So humanity and what's going on, how are they going to be affected by the truckers? So humanity, how they're going to be affected by the truckers.
Yes.
Okay, and then there's past. So this is the past that led us to the situation. The current situation. So this would be in the atmosphere between the situation. So your atmosphere. So this could even be just everybody's feeling around what's happening with the truckers, but that led us to the truckers. So that's interesting. And there's the near future. Okay, that's interesting because this is, I'm actually just reading it right now. And then I pull 2 more for advice. So similar to you, you're using a lot of thought in the way you described yours. And that makes sense because we create our destiny with thoughts. So you're looking at, if you keep visualizing things this way, it's going to turn out like this. Is that what?
Yeah, because that's basically my mentality when I was channeling. Like when I was connecting with Adronis, we'd always talk about tap into the collective of this thing and see the thoughts that are coming out of it. And now you can be able to discuss it. So if I basically said, someone asked me this morning about Saudi Arabia, Brad, what's happening with Saudi Arabia? Is Saudi Arabia going through? Because it feels like there's a small awakening there. And even before I even looked at the cards, I just tapped into the consciousness of Saudi Arabia and said, oh, that's going to be fine. They'll be fine. It might take them a little bit longer to get out of the funk, but they'll be okay. Then I pulled the cards and the cards said exactly what I said. So that's the kind of interesting thing. Because my spirit's always telling me, follow your intuition, because even what you're going to say, the cards are just going to back you up with it.
Yeah.
At the same time, right?
True. Yeah. Fascinating. And your first initial feeling on it, once you've channeled for a while, you always have to go with that. If you second guess it, I find now you're in thought and your own intellect, and now your ego's in the way, and you got to just come out of that and just let it flow out your mouth.
Yeah, this is why you're in the background, and then the consciousness is in the forefront. And it's the same thing when you're communicating with spirit. You still have to go in the background, and spirit's coming through. And it basically comes to the point where there will be no background and foreground. You'll just be spirit. And you just keep working with that all the time. So that's what I'm working on, for sure.
Do you ever get physical sensations, like when you're working with a person, like
oh yes,
a sore knee, or you're getting a hip problem?
Yeah, sometimes I'll get the feeling of someone. It's like it's not actually a headache, but I'll get the feeling that there's some buzzing around the head. And I said, "Are you okay? You got a headache?" "Yeah, I got a really bad headache." "Okay, well, that kind of feels a little bit the buzzing." So it's not really giving me a headache, but I can get that feeling. So I'll get that clear empathic feeling with the person in that sense. Even with they're nervous, I'll feel nervous at the same time. Like, wait a minute, I'm not feeling nervous. It must be my client. So yeah, I'm a little nervous. Well, that explains it. That's why I'm like that. So that's the clear empathic ability that comes through. Yeah.
One time I was asked to channel somebody's past life. Like, people love those past life readings and they're fun. Like, what I find is with cards, it'll go to a specific one that maybe is holding up their current life. Because of course there could be, who knows how many past lives you've had. So you don't know where, you can't just channel all of them, obviously. So it'll pick up on one. Yeah. And what happened was I got into the person's past life self, and I was in in the Dark Ages on a pile of bodies, and they had died of the plague, but I was still alive. But they didn't know I was because I was so ill. But I was in a pile of, yeah, it was horrifying, and I could smell it, and everything was the worst thing ever. And the person was sitting in front of me, and I flashed to that lifetime. And I had to come out of that and explain that to them. Well, that wasn't what they wanted to hear. That's
exactly. I did the Akashic records as well too, where I'd basically go in the Akasha, and the good news, I didn't really go too vividly into it, but I would get these flashes about what was happening. I'd see like war-torn situations, people getting decapitated, having these wars. It was very, it was like looking at Game of Thrones in that sense, right? It was very, very gruesome. And then you got to tell the person that, okay, well, this is exactly what happened. You were actually killing a lot of people. You were killing. Come on, I'm not a slaughtering person. What are you talking about? So I'm not talking about you right now in this body. I'm talking about this other dimension to where you're being shown, because the whole idea is you still have that kind of ruthless attitude with you. It just comes through words rather than the idea of you cutting someone's head off. So yeah, I went into the Akashic records quite a lot, and I would look into people's other lifetimes. And sometimes I would even tell spirits, like, try not to get too gruesome with me, because it's just hard for me to convey that to the person. So I said, just kind of give me a download about it. And so that's kind of what happened. It's kind of like I was saying that subconsciously. It's just give me a download about this stuff. I don't want to go too much into the gruesome details. And so I would just get flow about it without having to go deeply into the stuff. Because if you went very vivid, you could look at some really horrifying stuff.
Oh yeah. And because like if you think about human history, it is horrifying, really.
It is horrifying. Absolutely.
It's not like
when you look a lot more deeper into what's happening, then you'll see it's actually a lot of it is ET controlled, it's off-world controlled as well. You're actually seeing reptilians doing psychic impressions upon people and telling them to do these things. You'll look into the inner earth, and you'll look at different beings there as well too. You look off-world, you look at the Draco, you look at different things. It can be, the deeper you go, the more surprising it seems.
Yeah. So are you thinking that we're literally living in a matrix, and it's more controlled by those projections?
So this is what the yogis always refer to as Maya, right? Maya is the matrix. So Maya represents the idea that it's the appearance of consciousness, but it's all thoughts, it's all impermanence. And so that would represent a matrix in itself. The entire mind is a matrix altogether. It's a tool, it's a construct. But it is of intelligent design. It's not intelligence itself. Spirit is intelligence. Spirit is putting its intelligence through the mind to convey itself, to express itself, to bring about experiences, to know that intelligence is behind the mind construct. But looking at the mind itself, it most certainly is a matrix construct. That's part of its design.
Now, just for fun, because I bet the audience will love this, the viewers, since we both got our decks here, do you want to pull a really short little look at, for instance, since we're talking about those truckers, just for fun, and we're both Canadians, wouldn't you say it's brought Canadians together a lot more than usual? Like,
Canadians are actually leading the charge right now of that, which is kind of interesting, because I thought Canada would be one of the last countries to wake up.
I did too.
I think we're going to be one of the first. So.
I did get, though, when I looked at it the other day, I did get a surprise from the universe. And I'm feeling like the trucker thing is the universal surprise, because it has been stirring people to tears and joy, which of course is exactly like what you said. We got to get to that love and just open our hearts and loving. And it's really opened a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. And that's the great thing. Like I said, people are other countries are going to follow suit with that, which is great.
I'm just going to do a quick look from my end, but you start when you're ready.
Okay, well, I'm just going to do my pillar spread here and look into that. I was actually covering this last week on New Earth Insights about the Trucker Convoy.
Awesome. So we're going to have Brad's particulars below, so you're going to be able to find him if you don't already know who he is.
Yes, and I'll get into that too shortly as well. So you can find me.
Awesome.
Okay. Make some room here. I have to make some room for my table.
Yeah.
Okay. So looking into the situation right now, like I said, it's going to be pretty prolonged. So it's kind of playing itself out right now, the situation in regards to truckers. It's going to bring about such great glory, right? Just the idea of the inception of this event is going to lead to sunny days and wonderful times and amazing things happening as well too. So in the present moment right now, right? So it feels like there's some worry, some concern. Maybe again, we're having like 150 miles of traffic with the truckers as well too. So we're seeing some people saying, what's going on here? The news isn't covering it. What's taking place? And of course, the whole idea, new things coming together, right? We're seeing some secrets about to be revealed here. Now looking into the near future. New future is great. Near future, sorry, let me go back here. This is the present moment. So we're getting strength. Strength is coming together. We're now looking into the Ace of Pentacles for the near future. So blessing, we get aces, of course, which is always great. And of course, we get the conscious thoughts here, right? It's time to really kind of take a stand. We're moving away from the old fold. We're moving away from the old times, the old game. And behind the scenes, we're seeing this. So we're seeing the fruits of our labor. We're seeing everything that we've been building up for quite some time now starting to take place. And moving into new places, of course, with the Ace of Pentacles down the road, that's the long-term future. And of course, that's always subject to change. And of course, for advice, this is it. Let the good times roll, enjoy, celebrate. We're going to see some wonderful times support the truckers that are here. Yeah. And of course, in the life lessons, listen to the inner voice, listen to yourself, listen to your guidance, follow to where you are being guided to helping out with this convoy and offer all of your support that you can. Mm-hmm. So that would be the basic reading I'm getting.
Right on. It was funny that you had that Knight of Wands, because when I did that little quick one, when I was just pulling them, that was the outcome too, was the Knight of Wands.
Oh, there you go.
Going into new territory. He's charging in with a new energy.
Yep. See a new beginning.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yep, we're just going to see a new beginning, see a new time. Yep.
So speaking of new, we got this new birth card. This is them. So this is the truckers. And this is the situation that they're bringing. So interesting. So it's like they rebirthed or birthed a new way for people to see Canada, for starters, because I was getting really embarrassed there for a while. So people are looking at Canada differently. They're looking at truckers differently. This is like a heartfelt opening card. So we really open up like that boundaryless. And it's also bringing a lot of emotions. People are crying with joy. And when they see them go by, somebody's actually fighting for their rights to be human. How amazing, right? Then there's this card. So this was what they're bringing. So moving things out of troubled water. So they're shifting, because we were at a stalemate. Nobody was, everybody was going along and just bending over. It was just getting so dreary. And truthers were out there talking, like Brad and I were out on our shows doing our thing, and other people were doing their thing, but people weren't standing up like against tyranny, right? So even though this whole world is just teaching us things and we're learning and we are our own destiny, we still got to get through this.
That's right.
We got to do this physically, because this is a physical place. Okay. So this was in the middle. So this card is, so they're rushing in and they're very passionate. This guy's very passionate, devoted, and rushing in. But this was the past. It came out of, people just got absolutely fed up. Their families were being torn apart. Their finances were being taken away. In particular, these truckers, they'd have to quarantine for 14 days in a row. How do you work when you're on the road all the time? It was when things weren't making sense. People were being hurt. Things were being taken away from them. Their rights to not have things put into your body, things like that, right? So that's what brought this on. So that past card brings us. Here's the near future. Okay, the star, healing and vulnerability, right? Because it's very vulnerable maybe to have that many vulnerable for them in a way, because they could be driving into a trap. A lot of people are talking about that. Some of their leaders are being smeared. There's all these smear campaigns. I got my sleeper relatives writing to me saying, oh my goodness, these guys are all racists, and all these lies that they put out about
terrorists.
Yeah, they're terrorists. Of course, that's just from the playbook, but some people don't get that there's a playbook out there and that mainstream media can't be trusted. But this card feels like it drops like that drop dropping of the veil. I think them going there really shows, this is like naked. They're naked. So even the government's going to be laid naked because we got Trudeau running off for 5 days, hiding in his cabin. He's probably nowhere near the whole situation anyway, because, oh, he's been exposed. You know, it's exposing people, it's exposing the media for what they've been up to. They've been shutting off cameras on the street so you don't see how many people are gathering. Like, it's just, this is like an exposure card in a way. And a lot of humility to that card. So some people are going to have to eat some crow, you know, when these guys show up and they're not terrorists. And they're just a whole bunch of family people, and people love them. And if you read the signs on the truck, it's obvious what they're up to.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right? Here's the guys. Give them, like, be there in your heart, right? And be happy for the breakthrough and celebrate with them. Because even if they don't get any of those demands, which I don't think is true, but even if they didn't, they still brought everybody some joy, some happiness, and raised our vibration and gave us hope. And now the whole world, these things are springing up all over the world. If sleepy Canadians can do this, other people can figure this out. It's brilliant.
It's very interesting too, because we had some different cards, but we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. This is where I say that we connect to the same source.
Yeah.
We may have different cards, but we all reach the same conclusion. We all get the same thing that's happening as well. So this is a beautiful thing in human history. And this is exactly what I've been talking about with 2022. It represents the year of action. So it's the year of action, it's the year of justice, and it's the year of healing. So that's really what this whole year comes together. 2020, 2021, we had some shaky ground there, that's for sure. But that was all part of, it's kind of like looking at the 3 stages of a play in that sense, right? The first stage is like the disaster. The second stage is if everything feels like it's going to hell. Third stage, we get out of it. We're on the 3rd stage right now. We're getting out of it. I love it. So I've always said that probably before the end of April, we'll see the complete and total destruction of the COVID agenda.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So we're going to see, I'd say at least 90% of the countries will fall in line to clear out the COVID agenda. It'll be done. People who are both vaccinated and unvaccinated will be able to travel the world again.
Exactly. I've been getting that exact same thing, Brad. This is why I really enjoy talking with you, because you come from it from a totally different angle, but we kind of meet in the middle.
Exactly. We're just coming from the middle. Like, you'll go up this way, I'll go up this way.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We still came from that one dot, right?
Yeah. So. And can I ask if you're an air sign? And if you don't want to say, that's okay. But I'm just
so fine. I follow Vedic astrology. Okay. So Vedic astrology is a little bit different. Now, basically, in Western astrology, I'd be seen as an Aries. Mm-hmm. In Vedic astrology, I'd be seen as a Pisces, which is actually a lot more in alignment with me. But basically, in Vedic astrology, they look at your moon sign and they look at your ascendant. They don't really look at your sun sign. In Western astrology, they look at your sun. But yeah, the Aries would be my Western astrology. But what I resonate more is that I'm a Capricorn moon and I'm a Virgo ascendant and I'm a Pisces sun in Vedic astrology.
Maybe it's the Virgo I'm picking up on, because you did all that research even before you started.
I'm pretty analytical, which is kind of funny, because I'm trying to tell people to get out of being analytical. But I'm also, when I get into my work, it is actually a lot more heart centered. But when I'm not doing my work, there's times where I'm just being kind of analytical and I'm putting my plates together and I'm doing some stuff, doing some tasks behind the scenes. So I find the nice balance between the two. It's important. Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, do you want to any parting words for our viewing audience?
Yeah. So again, if you guys want to check out my website here, there's 2 websites I have. It's newearthteachings.com. And I also have a healingcodecards.com. So this is the deck that I have created, one of the 3. This one is called the Body Deck Special Edition. Now, basically, I'm getting new batches coming in here in the springtime. So in March, I'll have a new batch of the Healing Code Cards Mind Deck. And in April, I'll have the Body Deck and the Energy Deck ready to go, but they are available in digital versions right now. So you can basically just download them. You can print them out on your printer, on photo paper, make sure your printer's of good quality. And now you can start using those decks. And like I said, all you do is just kind of stare at them for at least 60 seconds, stare at each card, and you're getting the healing codes coming into your body. You can also put them on your body. You can charge your water with them as well too. You can also take a photograph of yourself and put that face down upon the card, and it'll start working on your body in that area. 24/7 for as long as you have it on your card, as long as you have that picture on the card. So there's a lot more information about it on healingcodecards.com. I'm probably not going to be taking any more private sessions, right? There's a couple left, but they're going to be going very, very fast. So what I would suggest for everybody is tune into my newer teachings website on February 1st. I'll have the link up to Patreon, and then you guys can sign up for Patreon, and then you can sign up for group Q&A sessions with me. I'll be holding them every Wednesday starting next week. So that will be something good. And of course, my YouTube link is below. It's youtube.com/C/B Brad Johnson 79. Or you can just go onto YouTube, type in Brad Johnson New Earth Teachings in the search bar, and you'll find my channel coming up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was wonderful, Brad.
Yeah, I had a great discussion with you today. Thank you so much for having me. I had a great discussion with you today, and thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it was an honor, actually. And I've like often things you say, I just can't believe that just came out your mouth, because it's like exactly, you put it in words and ways to express things that I've been feeling that I just couldn't have said.
That's my Virgo side. That's my Virgo.
That's awesome. Yeah. You just put it together for me. Yeah, good.
That's good.
Thank you so much. And
thank you, Janine, for everything that you're doing as well too. And say hello to Jean-Claude for me as well too.
I will.
I didn't call him Jean-Luc this time, so that's good.
Jean-Luc, yeah, don't call him Jean-Luc.
Jean-Luc Picard, all right.
And
I'll call him Jean-Claude Van Damme. It'll be better. But
those ancient beings, you have a title for them.
Oh, the human guardians.
Human guardians. I for some reason, I'm going to write.
Maybe to write that down.
Yeah, because I often talk about that hermit card, and I'm always trying to find exactly how you say it.
Yeah, well, you do call them helpers and guides too. They're certainly helpers. Like they are just us. They're just us in another dimension, in another universe that have come here, and they're helping us at this time. And they're very human. They're very much like us. They're from Earth as well too.
Right on. Well, when I first got on that Zoom with you, we figured that out pretty quick, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I thank you for that, figuring that out.
I noticed that you and Ashley were also talking about it through your Friday dives.
Yeah.
So you'll talk about the human guardians and say, they're from Earth. They're from Earth, and they're here.
Yeah.
Helping
Which
us
is what I was getting
on the moon right now as well too. And they have a certain territory on the moon. They're not in charge of the entire moon. They have a certain territory on the moon. So they're working together. It's kind of like a big communication centers that they have. And so they have access to quite a lot of technology, and they're working with treaties right now to have a lot more control of the moon, so that they can deactivate more of the frequency technology that's bombarding the Earth that's created this control agenda. So as those technologies get powered down, Adronis was talking about around 2024, that will happen more completely, is these technologies will be completely taken down, and people will be able to incarnate on the Earth, and they'll actually have access to their memories of their lifetimes.
Wow.
So the whole idea of the amnesia effect will be coming to an end in the next couple of years.
That's going to be brilliant.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great.
Wow.
And that's leading us into this more prosperous age to come.
Yeah. And if we're already here living, will we tap into our memories too, or will it just be the new ones coming?
Everybody will come into it. Like basically, if we come into it with amnesia, we still have to do some work on ourselves. But for I say more like the new children that are coming in as well too, they're going to be aware of what they've been through, their lifetimes as well too, their lifetimes on Earth, their lifetimes on other planets. So it's a lot for the new children. It can be for us as well too, but we have to get the barriers of fear out of the way.
Right.
Because that's the membrane that we're putting up. So once we clear all that away, people may just start getting like much more vivid dreams, and they realize, I feel like I was like on another planet and stuff like that. What's going on? Well, those are your memories trying to come to you. And when you take those membranes down of control and conflict, you're going to receive them a lot more strongly. So the people that are here, that are in their senior years, etc., will get these feeling effects as well too. But we still have to do some inner work to take down those membranes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's
might be something good for your next video.
Yeah, I think we should get more into this. We'll do this again because we need to talk about the whole moon situation.
Yep. You can also look into the inner Earth. There's a lot of beings in the inner Earth. I actually talked to one civilization called the Delphi. They're actually underneath Delphi, Greece. They're albino. They're an albino race. And I was talking to them since 2017, and they were telling me a lot of things as well too. They're in negotiations with different civilizations, both internally through the Earth and through the space as well too. So they're working together and helping and leading a helping hand as well. There's actually some space that's reserved for humanity in the inner Earth once we reach that level of maturity as well too. So people will start living in the inner Earth probably within the next couple of decades as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we're gonna call it for today, and we're gonna save that because that sounds like a whole nother really cool video.
Yeah.
Right on. Thank you so much, Brad.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah.